This is still Chapter 2 test review, and we're going to start up again with problem number 5 having to do with horsepower. Formula is horsepower is equal to W, which stands for the weight, times S over 234. S is the speed, and that quantity right there is raised to the third power. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the formula down first. H is equal to W times S over 234. All raised to the third power. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and solve for the variable first, and then we'll substitute in the values. So the first thing that's going to have to go is this W over here, and the W is multiplying that quantity. So the first thing that I'm going to be doing is dividing both sides by W. So I have H over W over here, and on this side, it's going to look kind of bad at first, but it gets cleaned up pretty quick. And you can see that these W's drop out, leaving me with H over W is equal to this quantity. So I have S over 234 to the third power. The next thing is I want to get rid of that cube. And in order to do that, I have to do the opposite of cubing something, which is the cube root. So I'm going to be taking the cube root of both sides. Cube root of this side is equal to the cube root of this side. I want to put that whole thing underneath the radical sign, that whole thing. So this action right here takes this guy right off, rips him off, leaving me with just this stuff in the parentheses. And at this point, I don't even need the parentheses. And on this side, it just stays as is. So I have one more thing to do. I got to get rid of the 234, and I'm going to do that by multiplying both sides by 234 times, and I don't really need that multiplication sign. I do need that. Is equal to S over 234 times 234. And if you'd like, I could make that look like a fraction. Okay, so these guys are gone, leaving me with just S. So S is equal to 234 times the cube root of H over W. And at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and substitute the values that I know from the problem. And the values that I know are that I have a weight of 2460 and I have a horsepower of 440. So I'm going to substitute that in. So I have S is equal to 234 times the cube root of H, the horsepower, which we said was 440 over the weight, which we said was 2460. Okay, so 234 times that whole thing. Now, if you're really good at entering this in the calculator, you could do it all in one fell swoop. If you're not so good, then you might want to do this part first, then take the cube root, and then multiply by 234. But we're going to be brave, and we're going to do it all in one crack, and hopefully I won't make a mistake. And if I do, well, we're going to be doing this problem another way anyway, so we'll be able to check it. Okay, so I've got, let me turn it on and clear it. So I have 234 times. Now I've got to get that cube root thing in there, and here's how I do that. This little guy here, he's referred to as an index. I'm going to hit him first, and I have to get to this fella right back there. It looks like a tiny X inside that radical. And to get to it, I'm going to hit the second key, my caret key, and you can see that the X appears right there. And I'm ready to put the information inside here. Now notice that this guy does not start you off with a parentheses as does the square root symbol, and I really don't know why. But because I have two things that I need to put in there, the 440 and the 2460, I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to put in some parentheses. And there's my 440 divided by 2460. I'm going to close the door on that and hit an equal sign. So I get 131.8423. You know how I like to take it out 4 places. And the directions on my problem say round it to the nearest miles per hour. Well, I can do that pretty easily. S is equal to 132 miles per hour. Okay, so we're going to redo this problem just because we can. And what we'll do is we'll put the values in first, and then we'll go ahead and isolate for S and see which way you like best. So again, we're going to start with the formula. So I have H is equal to W times S over 234 cubed. Okay. So I'm going to be putting my horsepower in, which is 440, is equal to my weight, which is 2460. And S I don't know, so I'm going to leave him alone. 234 cubed. All right, so the first thing to go is the 2460, just like the W was the first thing to go over here. And the 2460 is multiplying this, so to cure that, I'm going to be dividing both sides by 2460. So I have 440 over 2460 is equal to 20. This is going to look, again, kind of messy at first, but it gets cleaned up real quickly. 234 cubed over 2460. And you can see, boom, these guys drop out, leaving me with 440 over 2460 is equal to S over 234, and that guy's cubed. Now, just like on the previous problem, I'm going to have to take the cube root of this guy, both sides at the same time. So let me go ahead and do that. Cube root. And if I really wanted to, I could go ahead and solve this part of it at that point, but I'm going to hold off. 2460 is equal to cube root of S 234 over 234 cubed. Okay, so this guy takes him off, leaving me with cube root 440 2460 over 2460 is equal to S over 234. S over 234. Okay, so after S, I'm going to multiply both sides by 234. I hope you notice that what we're doing is very similar to what we did over here, except now we have numbers. Over here we had letters. Multiply both sides by 234. 234 times the cube root of 440 over 2460 is equal to S over 234 times 234. These guys drop out, leaving me with just S. So S equals all this. And I'm ready to do that in my calculator. And I'm going to go ahead and enter it in a little bit differently than what I did over here. So I'm going to work from the inside out, which should be okay. So I'm going to do 440. Let me clear this. 440 divided by 2460 equals that. And now I'm going to take the cube root of that. Now remember, you got to start with the index. So it's 3 second, then my up arrow, and I'm going to stick my answer in there, the previous answer. So it's second. I'm going to recall that guy. Stuck it right in there. Take the cube root, and now the only thing I have left to do is multiply that by 234. And hopefully I'm going to come out with the same answer that I had before. Ta-da! 131.8423, which again rounds off to 132 miles per hour. And there you have it.